And joining us this morning on the Harbor One Hotline, it is the Chief Baseball Officer of the Boston Red Sox, Chaim Bloom. Hey, Chaim.
Morning.
You got to do something about the schedule of the front office reports over there. It seems like O'Halloran always ends up joining us after a win, and here you are, unfortunate luck after the sweep.
Yeah, well, if that actually is a pattern, then we should just have him do it all the time. If he was scheduled for this morning, you think he would have won last night?
Where are you at currently? I hate the grade thing, but I mean, at this point in the season, if you had to give this team a grade, I guess you'd be grading yourself. What do you have this team at?
You know, I'm sorry to dodge your question, but I don't like to think about things that way. Look, there's obviously some things to be happy about. Right now, we got a little bit of a bad taste in our mouth just because of the last 4 games in particular, where particularly offensively, we just kind of got away from who we are and who I think we've shown we are. We got a long way to go. There's a lot of the positive things that have happened. Obviously, you know, the record is what it is. It's solid, but not spectacular, and we want to be better. And that's been our focus from day one of spring training. Just, we know, obviously, going back to last year, we need to be better. I think there's a lot of areas where we have shown improvement, but we need to keep doing it. You know, where we are right now is, you know, there's a lot of things to build off of, but we need to keep improving.
All right, let me try this one. In your mind at this moment, is Chris Sale the ace, and is he what you need him to be? Can you say that now?
Well, certainly going in the right direction. I mean, I think we all, if you had said in the depths of the winter that we're going to look up, you know, going into Memorial Day weekend, and this is where Chris would be at, I think we'd all be happy about that. Obviously, you know, the overall season results are still going to be kind of skewed by what happened early when he was finding himself. And, you know, I don't think we should expect what he did, you know, in San Diego. He's going to do every single time out, but you know, if you just watch him pitch, he's making really good progress to getting back to the best of himself, particularly that game, that last start. I think we saw him do some things that he hasn't done since before all of these injuries started. He's feeling more comfortable, so, you know, he's definitely moving in the right direction.
Chaim, as a guy that's in the front office and just knowing, like, how long a season is it frustrating for you like it is for us as fans when you go on these long losing streaks or long winning streaks to not get too impulsive in either direction? And what's that like in the, you know, in your war room as people in the front office? And, you know, how do you handle those situations where you might be hot for, it seems like forever, and then you're cold forever, and not to be too impulsive?
Yeah, it's one of those things about baseball. I mean, I think hopefully we all get better at it over time. But I'm glad you asked, because I think, you know, it's an important part of our jobs, obviously, not to do that, right? Not to just to understand, to step back and say this is a really long season, and even 50 games in, you know, there's still so much more left, and you really have no idea how it's going to go. But part of the reason I'm glad that you asked is, believe me, I know this is true about me. It's true about a lot of people I work with. I bet it's true of most front offices in baseball. I kind of envy people if it's not true about them. I promise you, when these things are going on during the game, in the privacy of my own home or the suite or wherever, you would probably hear things come out of my mouth that probably the same things coming out of a lot of fans' mouths that you would probably not believe.
Yeah.
And it's just important. You got to take a step back and cool off. And, or, you know, if you're feeling really great about things, to understand, hey, you know, you can't get too high either. You know, when you're on a winning streak, it feels like you will never lose again. You start getting way ahead of yourself. And then when you're on a losing streak or you're not hitting, it feels like you'll never hit again. And that's also not good. So you're going to feel everything you feel. It's just important to make sure you have people around you who can help you take a breath and step back and just stay focused on the things that ultimately you know are important.
So how bad does it get? I mean, does Mrs. Bloom have to remove all sharp objects, or are you throwing glass vases around the house? Or, I mean, how bad is it?
No, not to that point. But I don't think she'd agree to do it, but one of these days you should have her do the front office report. That would be really entertaining.
I hope it's like I do. Go get Shohei.
Yeah, what do you think Chaim's favorite swear word is? I would say right now F-bombs are probably flying.
You have my kids, you would probably get some really entertaining opinions, both about me and sometimes about the Red Sox.
Yes, Curtis. Sorry, Courtney. Curtis.
Good morning, Chaim. So Corey Kluber is no longer in the starting rotation after being the opening day starter for the team. And I can't help but look at Nathan Eovaldi, a guy that excelled here over years, had some down spots, but 2 years, $34 million for Eovaldi. He's 6-2. He just had another complete game. He's got an ERA of 2.6. And you got Kluber 2-6 with an ERA over 6. And I guess, don't you at some point get what you pay for? And why? What was the calculus behind not giving Eovaldi the deal he got and going with Kluber?
Yeah, good question. And just, for a lot of different reasons, I don't think it's worth getting too deep into. What I would say about that, look, we love Nate, still love Nate. We always will. Definitely wanted him back. There's different decision points, timing things during the off season where different things happened for us and for him. We were in touch the whole way. Again, without getting too deep into it, obviously didn't work out, and he's in Texas, and that's that's obviously in the past. We turn the page, and the big thing is obviously, Corey has a pretty good track record of throwing strikes for whatever reason through 9 starts. He just hasn't done that consistently, hasn't executed pitches consistently, which is obviously pretty surprising because that has never been who he is before all of his injuries, since the injuries, and I'm sure he is going to figure it out. He is, just an incredible, he has incredible self-awareness, has been an incredible pitcher at all different phases of his career. We're just not there right now. And, this is where we're at. And maybe really at some point we have 5 guys we had to put ahead of him. No one understands that better than Corey. He could not have handled that better. In terms of that conversation, and he's going to keep grinding and keep working. So, I totally understand the question. There's obviously a lot of different things that go on during an off season, but we're obviously focused on the guys who are here.
But just to be clear, Eovaldi wanted to stay here. There was no offer. You didn't make an offer during the season, which is what he wanted, right?
You mean during last season?
Yes.
No, we didn't, but that's not too unusual. With a lot of these guys, just to let it go to free agency and then see how it plays out. Again, I think just respecting some of the relationships that are there and some of what went on. There's things about a lot of that back and forth, as with any player, that I wouldn't get into. It obviously just didn't work out, and that's obviously the fact of the matter.
But I guess removing the name of Kluber and Eovaldi, at some point, there's a reason why one player is available for $10 million and another player is available for $34 million, and the player that's available for $10 million will likely have more question marks. At some point, don't you sort of get what you pay for?
It totally depends on the player. I mean, our jobs, obviously, with any deal we sign of any magnitude, is to try to sign good deals and get good results. You look at any successful team, they're going to probably be successful in part because they have some players that they sign on good deals that way outperform those deals. And, obviously if you have guys that underperform the deals, it's going to be harder to have success. So I think whatever segment of the market you're looking at, the goal is to make good moves, make moves that have good results. That can happen with really big deals, and any successful team, it's also going to happen with shorter deals, with smaller deals. In fact, it needs to happen if you want to be successful. And so you're just looking to do well with every move you make, obviously understanding that it's very, very rare that 100% of them go the way you think.
Chaim, almost 2 months into the season, and we have some pitchers still talking about the pitch clock. We talked about it a little bit yesterday and again this morning, but Kenley Jansen and what he had to say about his serious concerns impacting a pitcher's ability to recover. Do you see that? Do you see that around the league? Is he being vocal about that to you guys? And what do you think the path forward looks like with that change?
Actually just hearing, after the fact, reactions from Kenley and from different people who were in those conversations talking to him about it, I think this has gotten a little more attention than he probably intended. And you look at it, it's actually interesting because he had, been, as we know, one of the slower workers in the league. And there are big questions about how's he going to adjust. And then you look at it, the only violations he's gotten were for being too quick, that one night against St. Louis. So I think he's actually showing that it's really a decision, the attitude you take to this. And the guys that are embracing it are the ones that seem to be doing great with it. And actually, a lot of pitchers are realizing this can be really tough on the hitters, too, if they take the right attitude into this. As far as bigger trends around the league, I think that's going to take time to figure out. And obviously, in the game today, there's so many injuries happening for so many different reasons. It's really going to be tough to isolate. I know that baseball is obviously going to monitor it for whatever it's worth. Obviously, in the minor leagues, we didn't see that uptick in injuries when the pitch clock came in. Now, big leagues are different. So we'll see over time. And one thing Major League Baseball has been clear about, if they need to adjust some things, they will. But look, I don't know if you all agree. I feel just as kind of stepping out of, the competitive, shoes of the Red Sox and just looking at it from a standpoint of what's good for baseball. I don't know how anybody could look at what the game looks like now and say it's not a better product. And ultimately, we're in the entertainment business, and we need to focus on that and collectively make sure the league is working to make the adjustments it needs to make. But I think on the whole, it's working out pretty well, and I actually think the way Kenley's performed is evidence of that.
Chaim, do you ever really want to be honest, like when people ask you questions about, well, why didn't you re-sign this guy? When probably a year into the Eovaldi deal, when he signed for $88 million, we were like, ship this guy out of here. Or the same with Eddie Rodriguez. Do you ever really want to be honest, like you said, and go, when you sign these guys, you want to get...
Well, Wiggy, shots fired, boom, boom.
No, but I always wonder that as somebody in in the front office. When they signed Eovaldi, people were like, he's not worth $17 million. And now you got people saying, you should have signed this guy for $17 million.
Curtis and I are right here.
Or the same with Eddie Rodriguez.
Wiggy, I talked to Chaim at Fenway last year. He grew up in Philadelphia listening to WIP. When Chaim makes good signings and the team's successful, we praise him. When things don't look like they're working well, we ask him about it.
Do you ever want to just be honest and say those kind of things?
Curtis and I are both experts when it comes to hindsight.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah,
true. That is true.
Like, why did they keep Eddie Rodriguez? When he was here, they were like, get rid of E-Rod.
It's actually an awesome topic because, the reality of it is obviously we all know, like, when you're speaking publicly on behalf of the team, you have to have some kind of filter. But, the more I go along in my career, like, especially here, like, you can't BS people. You actually want to be as honest as we can. I think, like, questions you asked about Nate, there's certain things, that go on in free agency, certain things that go on in conversations sometimes that it isn't about honesty or not. It's just about some things really should be more private. They're private conversations. They involve a lot of different people, people's lives, careers, that I just don't think it's right to share publicly. Yeah. But I always want to share as much as we can because the fact of the matter is, you guys do what you do because there's a ton of people that care about this team and they really just want to know what's going on. And I like to share as much as possible, but obviously there's some things I think that really should be private conversations, so I don't share those. And I think over time, that's ultimately going to serve us well in terms of our players understanding that private conversations are going to stay private, but we still want to give as much perspective as we possibly can.
Totally understand that, and not knowing what happened behind the scenes, it looks like a massive mistake. So that's
fair enough. Look, he's doing great.
Okay,
and I understand the question.
All right, Chaim. As always, awesome having you on, and we'll talk to you again soon. Line it
All right,
up.
You got it.
Line it up so you're on after a sweep, which goes the other way.
All right, we'll do our best.
All right, thanks, man. That's Chaim Bloom.